Hi, I'm Dr. Douillard, and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove ancient wisdom with modern science. And today I want to talk to you about something interesting: fluoride in your water. The impact of how fluoride impacts not only our thyroid function, but also our pineal function, our ability to produce melatonin. Studies show that both calcium and fluoride both will accumulate in our pineal gland, which is our melatonin maker. And it will calcify our pineal gland and compromise the amount of pinealocytes, cells that the pineal glands make, and also melatonin that the pineal gland makes. It'll compromise that. So we have pretty good science to back that up. So the question is, how do we stop the pineal gland from accumulating calcium, and how do we stop the pineal gland from accumulating fluoride? It's suggesting that those chemicals may be accelerating the slowing of production of melatonin as we age. We know that as we age, nature has a way of getting rid of us. One of those ways is to stop the production of melatonin, which helps not only put us to sleep, but regulates, it's like the master sort of hormone that relates, detoxification, rejuvenation, supports the regulation of all the other hormones in the body. It's really our connection to the light-dark cycles. As every cell on the planet has a melatonin receptor. Every plant, every bug, every species, every critter has melatonin in it. So it is one of the oldest molecules on the planet. It's what kept us here, because light, dark, winter, summer was something was important to know about and to stay connected with as we evolved over time. And now, because of artificial light and cell phones and inside not getting enough bright light as we would if we were outside, all these factors, not getting enough bright light, getting too much light at night when the sun sets, we still have the lights on. Now, in more aggressive fashions, we have cell phones and screens that have blue light predominance, which actually literally blocks the production of melatonin, has created a circadian imbalance that literally won the Nobel Prize this year. So it's sort of like a big thing. Something Ayurvedic medicine talked about for thousands of years is, hey, get yourself in rhythm with the cycles of nature. It was like the 101 thing that every Ayurvedic student learns. When I teach at the Ayurvedic colleges, this is what everybody learns. Day one is how to get in sync with the rhythm: seasonal cycles, daily cycles, monthly cycles. And now we know that this is actually, science that they're suggesting will revolutionize medicine. They're talking about circadian medicine specialties in medical schools. It seems to have arrived. And of course, here at LifeSpa, we're all about proving ancient medical science with modern medical science. And if I can find science that has proved some ancient medical wisdom, I'm going to write about it and talk about it, which we are talking to you today about some very interesting science that shows that there are ways to get fluoride out of your body, which is not easy to do, by the way. Now, one study showed that when you take iodine, which is a deficiency that affects a significant amount of the world's population, a deficiency that affects most the people who are particularly healthier, who don't eat as much red meat, don't eat as much dairy, don't eat iodized salt. Those are places where you will find iodine. The soils have been deficient in iodine for many, many years. There's big swaths of land around the world that don't have any iodine at all. So it's very easy to become iodine deficient. So one of the tests we use to measure iodine is a kit you get, and take a big iodine pill, 48 milligrams of iodine, and then you urinate in this big, very discreet orange bucket for 24 hours, and it tells you how much iodine is in the bucket and how much you took up from that iodine pill. And you should excrete about 90% of that, okay? But what they also found in the red bucket, fluorescent orange bucket, was that they found that in that bucket, there was a significant amount of bromide and fluoride in that bucket as well, to the tune of 50% more bromide than normal and 78% more fluoride than they would normally expect, suggesting that these are all halogens: fluoride, bromide, chloride, iodine. They're all halogens. They all compete for the same receptors. And some of those receptors are in the thyroid gland. And they found that when you actually take And the fluoride and the bromide and the chloride, they all uptake into the thyroid receptors as well, and they compromises thyroid function. So there's good science to show that people who have normal iodine levels are not affected by fluoridated water, but people who have low iodine levels are affected by fluoride in their water or in their toothpaste and things like that. So the thyroid loves the iodine, but it'll uptake something else similar if the iodine is not available, which is very common, right? So you take a big chunk of iodine and it flushes out a big chunk, a significant amount of fluoride out of your system. So I was going, okay, we know that the pineal gland, which is sort of weirdly outside the blood-brain barrier, don't quite understand why it's outside, but it's definitely outside the blood-brain barrier. So very, very vulnerable to toxicity, vulnerable to calcium accumulation. So you should think about making sure you're getting enough, not to confuse you, two things. One, vitamin K2 will actually block the uptake of calcium in the body to places we don't want it, like in your arteries, and encourage it to be uptaken into the bones where we actually want it. That's vitamin K2. One of the branches of vitamin K2 is called MK7, a very specific one that lingers longer and gives you longer lasting benefits. We have a product called K2 Max, and you can go to my website at lifespa.com/store and type in K2 Max. You can read all the science about what I'm talking about from vitamin K2. So that's one way to get the calcium to go to the right place and not accumulate possibly in your pineal gland, definitely not in your arteries, and definitely into your bone. There's good science to back that up. Iodine is the other one to get the fluoride out, which is a deficiency that affects a significant amount of the world population. One older World Health Organization study said it was 72% of the world's population now that are deficient in iodine, although that's getting better today. Still, the one demographic that's deficient still in iodine are women of childbearing years and people who are generally on the healthier side, who eat a healthier diet. So there you go, right? So we have to be careful of that. So the studies show that not only does an iodine flush fluoride out of your thyroid and potentially out of your pineal gland, and I don't know another way to get fluoride out of your body, and if I find it, I will write about it. Iodine also protects your breast from uptaking toxic estrogens. And the RDA for iodine is about 150 micrograms. But the science shows that we need about 1 to 1.5 to 3 milligrams of iodine per day to protect the breast from environmental estrogens. And if those environmental estrogens, toxic sort of non-high quality estrogens, uptake into all the receptor sites, in other words, the parking spots are all taken up by these mopeds, and there's no place for your Ferrari or your Mercedes to park, your good body bioestrogens, then you end up having, a hormonal imbalance or the overwhelming amount of these sort of toxic synthetic sort of xenoestrogens that are environmental, which we don't want. So the science shows that if you take iodine, protects your breast tissue from uptaking some of those toxic estrogens. It's really good science. I wrote an article called Protect Your Breasts. You can get that at lifespa.com, as well as many other articles on this topic of iodine and thyroid health and pineal function and fluoride. But the idea here is that the iodine levels will protect your breast tissue to the tune of 1 to 3 milligrams per day. I hope you're staying with me, and maybe it's a little complicated, but the next step here is that, remember my study that said that when you took a big chunk of iodine, it flushed 50% more, 78% more fluoride out of your body in the big, bright orange bucket? Remember that study? Well, the idea here is that if you were to take 1 milligram of iodine per day, you would get breast protection benefits. But if you were to take, like we have a pill called Iodine HP, it's got iodide and iodine in it. That's the kind of iodine you want, both iodide and iodine, total of 12 milligrams of iodine. You take one of those every 10 to 14 days, about every 2 weeks, you get about 1 milligram of iodine per day. It's like eating a big shrimp dinner every 2 weeks, but you get enough iodine to create that flushing effect that you want. Like if you're going to wash your car, you don't just use a little couple of sponges of water, use a lot of water to create a flushing effect. So the idea here is that you to make taking iodine super easy, like eating a shrimp dinner every 2 weeks, is take 1 iodine HP every 2 weeks. That gives you 1 milligram to protect your breast tissue. It gives you a big enough iodine to flush urine out of the fluorides and bromides and other toxic halogens out of your body. You take the K2 max and you get the calcium to go into the right places to make sure you're not actually accumulating calcium in the wrong places, like in your arteries and potentially in your pineal gland. And now we have some really interesting, good science to protect ourselves from 2 very, very important things. One, our pineal gland, which is so critical for melatonin production, and our circadian connection. And I have about 30 or 40 articles. If you go to my website at lifespa.com, type in circadian medicine, you'll get all those articles on circadian medicine, the Ayurvedic way to get connected, all you need to know about melatonin, how to do it, how to supplement if you need it, if you don't need it, and also all these articles about how to protect your thyroid with iodine, and to protect your pineal gland from both from fluoride and calcium, both, and to help us continue to get reconnected to the natural rhythms of nature, which got us here. All right, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.